The new so-called holiday established by the Kremlin dictator is nothing more than a feast during the plague, experts say. It was decided to celebrate the so-called Reunification Day to coincide with the day of the illegal referendum, which took place last year on September 23rd-27th. The results of the fake referendums were not recognized by any civilized country in the world. Thus, the British Ministry of Defense ridiculed Putin's new decree.
1 year on, how many countries have publicly recognized the results of Russia's sham referendums in Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson and Zaporizhia? The Ministry of Defense of Great Britain on social network X.
In the publication, the British Department also noted that the whole world except North Korea and Syria does not recognize fictitious referendums and supports Ukraine. Earlier, the International Commission of Inquiry in Ukraine under the UN Human Rights Council collected additional evidence of the usage of torture and abuse of residents of the temporarily occupied territories.
This is orchestrated as part of state policy to intimidate, instill fear or punish, to extract information and confessions. There is evidence of electric shock torture, beatings, simulated executions, threats of violence, forced to remain in one position for a long time, and other methods of torture, the purpose of which, among other things, to humiliate a person who is imprisoned in Russian-occupied territories or in captivity. There is evidence of civilians being held in cramped quarters or basements. Based on the comments of Jill Edwards, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture for the New York Times publication.
The Russian military tortured Ukrainians to death in the temporarily occupied territories of the Kherson and Zaporizhia regions. The same cases were registered in the Kyiv, Kharkiv and Chernihiv regions.
We waited 6 months for a village to be deoccupied. It was very painful. Many people were killed. There were cases of rape of adults of 75 years old and more, rapes by young soldiers. The most painful thing that happened to me was that one day they took my husband away, and that same day at night they tortured him in dungeons 20 kilometers from our village.
According to official UN data, 90% of Ukrainian prisoners were tortured in Russia. Along with the abuse of the population, the destruction of cities and the occupation of territories, the Federation is illegally deporting Ukrainian children. Therefore, the UN International Commission could consider the actions of the Federation in Ukraine as acts of genocide of the Ukrainian people. The Ukrainian side is assisted in the investigation of crimes by the International Criminal Court, the US Department of Justice and the FBI. Some of these cases involve Russian atrocities, and we look forward to the results of this cooperation. It is very important for me that not only Ukraine and not only the ICC, as an international court, prosecute Russian war criminals. It is important that other states, and especially the United States, prosecute them. Andriy Kostin, Prosecutor General of Ukraine, in an interview with the Ukrainian service of the Voice of America. Andriy Kostin added that there are at least 105,000 cases of war crimes committed by the Russian army in Ukraine at the moment. Reported by Yulia Hranovska, Pavlo Shtelmach, UATV News.